Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. Today we're looking at the LaserPecker 2 handheld laser, and I said to myself back in January of last year that I wasn't going to do any more of these handheld lasers. And when I got this one, I actually replied to LaserPecker and said I don't think my audience would be interested in this. And last week I got it out and started playing with it, and I said, I think my audience might be interested in this. I had a lot of fun playing with it. So what we're going to do is jump straight into the maker videos of what I made with it first. Then after that, since my audience seems to have only about a 6-minute retention period, after that I'll put in the unboxing, the assembly, the features, and things like that for those of you who want to get in and out of the video quick. And for those of you who want to stay a little longer and see all of it, well, you can do so. So with that said, let's jump into the testing of this and let's see how this laser did. I think you might be surprised. Let's go. Okay, let's run through these pictures real quickly. So the very first test I did was the LaserPecker 2 logo on 3mm Baltic birch, and you can see that it did a beautiful job. My very first time using the app, very first run. I didn't make any mistakes with this. Well, maybe one. So then I moved on to this mandala sort of design that they had in their clip art, burned that onto the birch as well, and it came out absolutely fantastic. And moving on, I decided to pop a piece of slate under there with the same graphic, and it did a fine job. And keep in mind, this is a 5-watt laser, and it is a galvo laser, so it moves at an incredible speed. The framing speed is like 225,000 millimeters per minute, but the actual speed of the laser itself is around 36,000 millimeters per minute. So that's the first slate. So then I decided to do another one, the Angels, another one of their clip art, and it came out just as good. Pretty good engraving every single time. So then I decided to break out that roller accessory, and I tried a wooden dowel with the LaserPecker logo, and you can see it came out just perfect. And I had my confidence up at this point, and I said, okay, let me drop a tumbler onto the scene here and see what happens. And I tell you, I was really amazed because this is a big logo. I did this tumbler in like under 3 minutes. Just amazing, incredible. So I said, okay, how about a 32-ounce tumbler? Surely it can't do that. And I was surprised. I imported my own graphics this time. I did the AT&T logos. This is for my son, who's a technician with AT&T. I did their logos on one side. I did his name on the other side. And I was just pleasantly surprised by the way this turned out. Now, it does have a thing called trolley mode, so even though you're restricted to 100 by 100 millimeters or a little less than 4 inches for most of your burns, you can put this thing in trolley mode and it will ride along the wood, and it will go all the way up to 40 inches long if you need it to. As you can see in this picture here, I did have the settings a little bit low, but I did a 7-inch long graphic. It's 7 inches by 2.5. And the laser just trotted along right down that piece of wood and burned it perfectly. Moving on, I went back to the regular shroud, and I did a solid oak keychain in about a minute's time flat, very, very fast. Then I threw some veg tan leather on there, and I was absolutely amazed with the results. This another minute and a half tops to get that done. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna push my luck and throw on an aluminum business card. And by now I'm really not surprised anymore that this thing does everything that a 5-watt laser does in the time that maybe a 10-watt laser would take, very quickly. Very quick, easy to use app. I was very surprised I'm not an app person. And these are some of the final products that I did with this. And like I said, just completely blown away by the versatility of this machine, where I'm so used to, with my 20-watt fiber laser, I'm so used to being confined to that 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. This is very similar. But with that roller accessory that you can flip over and put in trolley mode, and it'll just trot right along down a piece of wood up to 40 inches long. I mean, I think that's pretty incredible. So here you can see most of the things that I made. I made some more, but I'm not going to include everything in this video. So there you get a good idea of my initial start with this. Went fantastic. So now we'll jump back over into some of the actual videos of this happening so you can see it for yourself. Okay, so this came in a cardboard box, clearly labeled, and the boxing on this was really nice. Retail shelf quality. Everything was packed nice and neat, as you would expect. So I'm taking out all of the parts here. There's not much to this, folks. Putting this together is a matter of installing 2 screws for the Z right there, and putting the shroud on, plugging in a couple of connectors, and that is it. This is the easiest laser I've ever assembled. So it does come with a ruler. I don't know what that little thing in the styrofoam was, but some kind of little barrel of some sort. But there it is. I mean, it really just took a couple of minutes to put this all together. And I was very happy about that, I gotta tell you. So that little barrel thing has got me puzzled. Not quite sure what it is. Maybe somebody out there knows. It does have the glasses, the power supply. The power supply is not a plug hog. I'm glad to see that. It's a normal plug that plugs into the wall. All laser companies should have that. There are on the back, I'll cover it in a moment, but it's just a matter of plugging in 2 wires. There are 2 USB 5 amp ports, one that goes to the Z, and it is an electric Z that moves up and down at the touch of the button. That's really nice. You've got the power supply, and then you've got the shroud fan. And if you're not using the shroud fan, if you're using the roller accessory, you would unplug the shroud fan and plug in the roller. And the laser does tilt at different degrees, so just about any degree that you want it will tilt to. The shroud slips right on. It was a little loose fitting. It may just be my machine, but I did find that very loose fitting. So now I've got it all assembled. You can see the 2 5-volt USB ports. There is a USB-C. That USB-C is for connecting to the computer, which I was unsuccessful at. And there are your up and down buttons. One tap on that button moves it down 1 millimeter. Press and hold for a second and it will move it all the way down to the limit. So there you can see it moving up and down. That is a very nice feature, not having to do that manually. The power button is up on the top. You press and hold that, it turns it off. That's also a repeat button should you decide to run the same job twice. So now I've got this all plugged up and it is ready to run the first job. All right, now that we're ready, let's go ahead and I've got my phone here, and I'm going to turn on the camera on the phone because there is a QR code right here. So let's scan that QR code and click on that link. And there is the app for the LaserPecker 2. So I'll go ahead and install that. This is the first time that I'm using it, so you get to see it in real time. I'm going to click open and get a privacy notice that I should be reading. Okay, so here we are at the app. And I'm not reading the instructions or anything, so we're just gonna see. Let's click on settings. And why does it have to access my location? I'm really not sure. We'll do while using the app. And it's found the LaserPecker 2 unconnected device. We'll give that a second. Oh, I just heard 2 beeps. And it now says that sign in or create an account. So I'm going to do this offline, I guess. I have to create an account, and then we'll come right back. All right, so that went very quickly. I just put in my email address and it sent me a code. Maybe if I make this screen bigger, it might help see it better. Okay, so these are the settings right here. A bunch of settings in here. Third axis, G-code preview, imperial units, batch engraving button. So it does have a bunch of settings in here. And it's telling me Happy Father's Day. Isn't that nice? So let's go to the album, and I have to allow that. Oh, let's go to clip art. Yeah, here we go, clip art. So here's a bunch of clip art in here, and we'll just pick the LaserPecker, I guess. And it says engrave images, so I'm not really sure what to do, so I'm going to just click next. And so now it's saying what is the width and the height. So I think I'll do maybe the width, let's say an inch. We'll go 25 on the width. Oh, it's in inches already. Okay, so let's back that out. Let's do 1 inch, and it automatically filled in the height, so I'll click next. And file name, I don't know, we'll just do test for a file name. That looks good. And I will hit done down here. And now start preview. So let's start the preview. Please verify the laser workspace is secure. Okay, I'll say yes to that. Please wear your glasses before goggles. It says before engraving. Enter your password here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it did start the preview right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the wood. Let me jog this up a couple of millimeters so that I can not waste too much wood here. So we will get this over into the corner like that and go back down the same amount that we went up, which was 3 millimeters. And so coming back to the app now. I've got the preview on. I'm going to hit the back button. I'm going to do save. So I don't know what happened there. Let's do this again. Next. File in transit. Okay. Oh, okay. So you preview and then you apparently send the file to the machine. I think I can either hit start here or play over here. So I'm going to hit start right here. And 110 millimeters. Well, I'm not quite sure. This is a little confusing because that is not 110 millimeters. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Okay, so I will hit confirm. And I'll hit yes. And there it goes. And you can see that the galvo is moving. And it's actually moving pretty quickly. Upside down, okay? So that's interesting. You have to orient your wood upside down for that to work. All right, let's jog it up. And I didn't want to go that far. Okay, and take a look at what we get. And interesting enough, that is really a superb engraving. A lot better than what I was expecting. So I hope the camera is focusing well on that, because that really came out nice. Okay, we're going to start with this graphic here on the phone. And let me start the other camera so that I can get both of these going at the same time real quickly. And I'm going to do a width of 2 inches by 2 inches. That looks good. We'll hit next. We'll leave that file name just the way it is. Click done and start preview and say yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the pass. There we go. Number of passes is 1, and I'll hit start. And 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Okay, and confirm. And yet, lots of confirmations going on here, but we got it going. So I'm going to speed this video up just a little bit. I did have some problems with the video editing. I'm really not very good at it. But I'm going to speed this up so that it takes less than a minute, and then we'll go back into live time, and I will show you the results of this. And I really was very impressed with the way this came out. You'll see in a minute. Like I said earlier, you know, I'm not a fan of these handheld lasers, but this LaserPecker 2 is starting to make me a fan. So we're almost down to the last couple seconds here, maybe 15 more seconds or so, and then we'll go back into regular time and you can see the results. And we are now back in regular time. I'm going to bump this up a couple of millimeters so that I can slide it out. And before I actually show you a close-up of this, I'm just going to brush off the soot and the debris, because I don't want to touch it with my fingers. That will stain it permanently. And there you go. That is really an incredible engraving for the amount of time that this took with the Galvo laser. It just came out fantastic. And I have to say, I am slowly but surely becoming a fan of this laser. There's the original first run. This is my second run. You can see how nice that logo came out. I think this is working out just fantastic. Alright, so let's get into trolley mode, and this is the actual framing speed. I'm going to speed it up a little bit so that you don't have to watch the whole video in real time. But first thing you do is frame if you want to. You don't have to if you know where the burn is going to happen. And now you're seeing the actual burn itself running in trolley mode. I really like this. You can get up to about 40 inches long, which would be great if you're doing things, you know, like, you know, the porch signs, welcome to our home or something like that. You could absolutely do something that's 4 inches tall by 40 inches long on a, say, a fence picket or something like that. And it will just travel along, as you see here, and happy as a lark, and do the entire job. So there it is, the finished job. And that was 28 minutes and 13 seconds. And I think it did a really, really fine job for that mode. I've actually never seen a laser do this before, even though I do have one that I've never actually looked at yet, but not like this. And you can see that's almost 7 inches long. So it's 2.5 inches tall and it's 7 inches long. And I really found this quite fascinating. I thought this was a great little project to do. So here's everything that comes in the box, and there's the cover, manuals, roller accessory. The only thing I've done so far is just put 2 screws in the bottom of this to mount this the gantry, or the arm, I guess you'd call it. There's no real gantry, and tighten this up over here. All you do to install this laser is just screw it into the top right here, like that. Make sure this one is screwed down over here. And there is the entire machine. Plug in a couple of wires and you're ready to go. So let's take a look at the wiring real quick. It's very simple. You've got two USB A-type ports over here. They're both 5 volts output. A USB-C to connect it to your cable, which I was unsuccessful in doing, and so was pretty much everyone else. And the power cable right here. It did come with a nice power supply. It's not a plug hog, so the power brick is in the middle of the power supply, so it doesn't take up 2 plugs, which is nice. All of them should be that way. There is the power supply. Plug that in. You've got a couple cables over here. So let's just see what we got. We will plug this one into this one right here. This one is going to go to down here. That is the motorized Z-axis. And then we will plug this one into here. And these plugs are super tight, hard to plug and unplug. All right, now we've got the cover. All we do with the cover, it's hard to do with the camera in the way. Put the cover in here. There's 3 little slots. It slides right back into place like that. And it is all set up and ready to go. Now we've got everything set. On the side over here are your up and down buttons. So if we give it one quick tap, it will move it down 1 millimeter. If we press and hold it, it will go all the way down until it is focused. Let me get this stuff out of the way. There we are, perfectly focused, ready to run the job. Now, when we're done running the job, press it up maybe 2 or 3 millimeters, slide your wood out, and you're good to go. There also is a pass-through in the front, and that is how easy this is to set up. You've also got over here the roller accessory, and this is for doing small objects, maybe some tumblers, small tumblers. That's what the rubber bands are for. You put it around your tumbler and that'll keep it from sliding on the metal here. That sits on there perfectly all by itself. You can't use them for that. But you can use it like this and like that. And you can put something on here that is longer than the bed, not necessarily the ruler, and the roller will move it across and scan longer than wider. So even though it's limited to 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, you can do longer objects on this.